What's going on, everybody? This is going to be my final breakdown for the Rolly Romero Ryan Garcia card that's going to be in Times Square this weekend. This is going to be on dazn pay-per-view, and I believe that I don't know how much this card pay-per-view is separately, but if you pay for this card and the Canelo Skull card in the bundle, I know it's going to be $90 in total. All right. The Canelo fight is on Saturday. I already did a breakdown for Teofimo Lopez against Arnold Barboza, which I think is probably the most even fight out of all of the fights on this card here. So check that breakdown out if you haven't already. All right, but Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez is a good fight. It's not a bad fight. Um, Especially because of the timing of it. You know, Devin Haney has been inactive. He has not fought anyone since the fight with Ryan Garcia. Okay, and Jose Ramirez actually had a couple fights last year. One where he lost to Arnold Barboza, who's also fighting on this card. So, I'm just gonna give you a quick breakdown on the fight. You know, I think most people are leaning towards Haney to put on a show for this fight, but a few key things. Haney is moved up to welterweight. This is a welterweight fight. All right, so he's no longer defending the title that he had down at 140. Okay, Teofimo Lopez against Arnold Barboza is for the title down at 140. There's no title on the line for this fight here. Okay, and you got to remember Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia's fight is a no contest. All right, so even though Haney lost that night, it's been overruled a contest because of it's been overruled as a no contest because of the failed drug test of Ryan Garcia. All right. So yeah, I will not be doing a breakdown for Ryan Garcia against Rolly Romero. I know that's the main event because Ryan is the biggest name on the card, but it's nothing to really break down. You know, I mean, that fight is a complete mismatch, and it really just depends on where you're gonna go with Ryan and what round you're gonna think he's gonna knock him out. I think Ryan is probably gonna stop him within 3 rounds. You know, if not the first round, I think Ryan is just gonna be. He has like every advantage going into that fight. I mean, he's more skilled, he's bigger, he's more powerful, he's faster, um, he's more experienced. I mean, he has every advantage going into that fight. I mean, if Ryan were to lose to Rolly Romero, that would be a crazy upset. You know what I'm saying? So even though he's the main event, as far as quality, it's the worst quality fight on the card. I think this fight here, and especially the Teofimo Lopez Arnold Barboza fight, are way better matchups. All right. Um. So look, Devin Haney is a pretty solid favorite to win this fight. Jose Ramirez Jr. You know, not Junior. Jose Ramirez, 29 wins, 18 by knockout, only 2 defeats. Okay, he lost to Josh Taylor in the unified undisputed championship fight a few years back. Jose at the time was unified, so was Josh, and they fought for undisputed. Since then, Jose's been picking up some good wins, all the way up to fought Arnold Barboza, and he lost. As far as size, they're both roughly around 5'10". They roughly have the same reach, so there's really not much of a difference there. Jose Ramirez is pretty much a career uh, junior welterweight. All right, Devin Haney went from 135, has spent a few fights at 140, and now he's fighting Jose Ramirez at a catch weight of 144. So there's no titles on the line here. All right, but this is a welterweight matchup with a weight limit of 144 pounds. Devin Haney is 26 years old now, former undisputed at lightweight, former champion at 140. He's 31 wins with 15 knockouts, no defeats, official defeats, no draws. Okay. Um, with this fight here, being that Devin Haney is a favorite and we're all probably leaning towards him to win the fight, I was trying to find ways of where Jose Ramirez can win. I think the first way, obviously, is Devin Haney is coming off a beating against Ryan Garcia. Now we know he finished the fight. I believe it was a split decision. I do think that Devin Haney won the rounds where he wasn't dropped. I might have gave outside of the knockdowns. I might have gave Ryan one, maybe two rounds. I can't remember how I scored it. I did rewatch most of it just to get me a little familiar of like why that fight went so bad, and it's mainly due to the left hook. But I was looking for ways where I could see Jose Ramirez winning this fight. Now, Jose's been around for a while, and I don't believe he's in his prime right now. But one thing that Jose Ramirez has going for himself in this fight is at least he's not draining himself to make 140 anymore. That could play a role that may not be beneficial for him. I really don't know what's going to happen. He doesn't really have a size advantage over Devin Haney, because Devin Haney is still growing. And Devin Haney's probably going to finish his career at probably 154 or something. You know what I mean? But for Ramirez, I think one thing he has going for him is that he doesn't have to worry about the weight cut being as bad. Also, with Ramirez, he's fighting a Devin Haney that took a beating and getting dropped, what, 3, 4 times against Ryan Garcia in that fight. So, with that being said, he can try to capitalize off whatever Ryan finished him off with, if he finished him off. Jose Ramirez is not Ryan Garcia. Let's just make that clear. He has power. He is aggressive. He is a pressure fighter, but he doesn't put it together like the way Ryan does. Ryan is a bigger fighter. He's a harder puncher. He has one of the best left hook, if not the best left hook in the game. All right. Jose does things a lot differently. He comes straight forward. He has a high guard, a lot of upper body, a lot of shifting, a lot of bending at the waist, a lot of, bending the knees, feints and stuff like that. But he comes straight in. He doubles a jab just to get in. He doesn't really have a power jab. The jab is just to get himself in range so he can throw his combinations. He goes to the body good. He has a decent punch selection. I think Jose Ramirez has good angles, but more on a stationary target. He doesn't really do that well against movers. So you can see in the Arnold Barboza fight, which was his last fight, where he struggled at. All right. And there are similarities with Arnold and Devin Haney. So overall, Jose doesn't do that well against movers. I think Jose shines better when he's fighting guys that are a little bit more stationary. Like one of his biggest wins was against Maurice Hooker. If you watch that fight, Maurice, good boxer, but not much of a mover. It was easy for Jose to really get to him and land those bombs. Devin Haney is going to be a lot more difficult. Okay. But he can try to test Devin Haney's jaw with that left hook of his, because he does have a solid left hook. But he doesn't have a Ryan Garcia type of left hook, which is so quick that, if you get caught sleeping, you get caught clean, you're most likely going to get buzzed or at least get dropped. I don't believe Jose has that kind of power, but Devin Haney doesn't have the greatest chin neither. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call him chinny, but I don't think he has a great chin. You know what I mean? We all got to remember he did finish that Ryan Garcia fight. I know people like to make it seem like he got knocked out. He didn't. He finished the fight. But with Jose, I think overall, I watched a little bit of, like I said, I watched some of Haney's fight with Ryan. I rewatched the Barboza fight. The problem is Ramirez. I just feel like with guys on the level of Haney, Ramirez is just a little too slow, a little bit too predictable. You know exactly how he's going to come in. And if you're a mover with a good jab, which is Devin Haney, he's going to have a ton of trouble getting in, and Haney is going to be in and out. As long as Haney doesn't continue to back straight back into a corner, Haney's not going to have too much trouble with him. I think Jose, what he needs to do is he needs to be a bull. He needs to be a bully. He needs to turn this boxing match into a fight. And when he is close on Haney, he needs to really let his hands go. When he's in range, or if he has Haney on the ropes or in the corner, Haney could be a bit slippery, but you have to ambush him. You have to turn this into a fight. Because if this is a boxing match and Haney is going to be using that range and that jab to move and pivot around and step around Jose doesn't have the greatest feet. He is able to close distance quickly, but as far as like fighters, stepping around him, they normally don't have that much trouble doing that. So with Jose, I really, yeah, it's reckless. I know he doesn't have the greatest defense. I know he can be a bit predictable, all of these things that I'm saying, but he has to ambush Haney. You got to get Haney to a point where he's clamming up, and you got to throw those uppercuts in between the guard of Haney, catch him with the hook, catch him with the overhand, the right hands or whatever. You got to let your hands go. You got to mix it up when you are in range. You have to, because long distance, Haney got that easily. That's what he's good at. But a reason, and the strongest reason on why he needs to be aggressive, is he hasn't been in the ring since the Ryan Garcia fight, and you want him to feel that pressure. That's his only way. You got to break him mentally. And I'm not sure at this stage in his career that he's going to be able to do that. You know what I mean? I just, watching him fight and seeing exactly what he would need to do, I don't even know if he's going to be successful doing that. I don't think he's going to be successful in doing that. But that's the only way he can make this a fight. Devin Haney, we know his strengths. Very good boxer, very good jab, good reflexes. Um, you know, uh, Great combinations. Not the biggest power, all right, but he's a very good boxer. He's a very good mover. He has a very good jab, and good angles. He knows how to break these guys down. Like Jose Ramirez comes in with the high guard. Expect Haney to hit him wherever he's open at, especially with a stationary target, a guy that's just going to be coming forward. Ramirez is going to be coming forward. Haney can fight very well on the back foot. He's going to be waiting for Jose to come in. Where Haney can kind of, his disadvantages is really that left hook. You know what I mean? The short shots on the inside. Okay, sometimes when he's trying to block and he's trying to slip, that guard ain't really that tight. The guard isn't always tight. He's not consistent with his defense. And I don't think he has the super sharp reflexes that some of the other guys, like a Shakur, where they can just like slip and move in close range. I think Haney has great reflexes, but I think Haney lets his hands go so much where he gets caught. You know what I mean? Especially when he trades sometime. If you look at the Jorge Linares fight when he got hurt there, he was having a huge amount of success in that fight. But sometimes you're going to catch him with a good shot. And that's what Jose needs to be working on. But when it comes to Haney, Haney is a superior boxer. You know what I mean? And even though he's been hurt, he's been rocked a few times, I'm not sure if Jose has that level of power where he can just hurt him with one shot. I think it would be more about following up with combinations, because Linares was a big puncher. Even though he was older, he was always a puncher. We know Ryan's a huge puncher. Jose is a puncher. I don't know if he's on a puncher on that level. You know what I mean? And Haney's going to be moving. And the more Haney moves, the more Jose is going to be trying to track him down. And he's not going to be able to sit down on those punches like that. You know what I mean? So I think that Haney, he's going to be doing what he's doing. He's going to throw his combinations. He's going to be setting his traps. He's going to be lowering Jose right in. And Jose, with the high guard, He's going to be walking to a lot of jabs, a lot of right hands. All right. Haney's going to be going to the body. All right. He's going to be throwing shots to the body from the outside. And he's going to be circling around him. And it's going to start all over again. It's just going to just reset, do the same thing, move out of danger, and just reset and do it again. And I think that's how the fight is going to go. The only thing I can say for Jose in order to win this fight is hopefully for him, Haney is not the same fighter, and that's what I stated earlier in the video. If Haney is even less durable now, if Haney punch resistance has dropped, or if mentally Haney is not as strong because of what happened in that last fight, that could be an advantage for him. What I will say is, outside of Loma, outside of Ryan, Jose is arguably the third best opponent for Haney stylistically. Okay? What I mean by that is, you might not think some of the other fighters, like George Kambosos, for example. George is a solid boxer, but too low volume to really be a threat to Haney. And that's why Haney didn't have much trouble beating him in those two fights. Jose is more aggressive. So even if he slacks in defense or he gets hit a lot more, he is pretty durable. And he's going to let his hands go. He's going to keep coming. And when I look at Haney's resume, there's not many guys there that's going to really bring the fight straight to him. Regis, pro grade, very good boxer. Stylistically, all wrong for Devin Haney. I rated pro grade at one point higher than Ramirez, even though they never fought. But at the same time, pro grade style was not good style for Haney. Haney's style was not a good style for pro grade. George wasn't a good style. These guys Diaz was solid. Diaz was a good fight. But he's a southpaw, different kind of fighter, different kind of style. But he was aggressive. Jorge wasn't really that aggressive. When I look at all of these guys and go all the way down the list, I would have to put Jose a step below Ryan and Loma, but a step above everybody else stylistically, especially with the timing. So it's not a bad fight based on the tie. I know Jose might not be in his prime. I know he's coming off of a loss against a fighter with a similar style. But if he's catching Devin Haney at the right time, he has somewhat of a chance. I think Devin Haney is going to beat him on points, clearly. He's just too good of a counterpuncher. He's too accurate. He's too sharp, And he's been there, He's been there. And Jose's been there too. But Devin is a better talent overall, It really depends on Ramirez and his aggression and possibly catching Devin on Haney on the right night. But I got Devin Haney winning this unanimously on points. Not a bad fight, not a bad opponent. But I just think Devin has proven that he's above this level at this stage in his career. All right? Unless he's not the same fighter. I got Devin Haney on points. All right? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Peace.